Well, things are changing here in the United States of America, and unfortunately, it's not for the better. Right now, our United States dollar is more at risk today than ever before. In fact, I'm going to show you a clip from Tucker Carlson that really just drops a bombshell of what is really happening to our United States dollar and why you need to pay attention to it. And before you hit that button and just skip over the video, I want to encourage you, please watch this report in its entirety, because this is going to impact each and every single one of us, and it won't be in a good way. And I wish I had really good news to share with you, but unfortunately we're living in a very sad state, especially with these Democrats in charge who are spending massive amounts of money. And by the way, sending massive amounts of money to countries like Ukraine and many other countries. And both sides are doing it, to be frank. But as a quick reminder, check out my sponsor, Noble Gold Investments at lisahavengold.com. Look, if you don't have a 401k or Roth IRA backed by gold, silver, and precious metals, please do that now. Your time is running low, especially in light of the broadcast that I'm going to talk about today. I've partnered with Noble Gold on purpose because of what they do. And right now they are giving away this 5-ounce silver coin, with any approved plan. And by the way, no investment is a guarantee. It's all something that you try, obviously. But check it out at lisahavengold.com or give them a call on the number on the screen. But with that, click the more button if you want more information, or click in the description box below. All right, so let's dive into what on earth is going on and Tucker Carlson's bombshell warning to the American people about the US dollar. Take a listen.
So a year later, despite the sanctions you were told are the greatest ever devised, the Russian ruble is just as strong against the US dollar as it was before the war in Ukraine. So we didn't really hurt Russia with those sanctions, certainly not long term. Who'd we hurt? Ourselves. E.J. Antoni and Peter St. Onge wrote an incisive piece in the Daily Caller last week that explains part of why this happened. Quote, "A critical feature of a reserve currency is its apolitical nature, which Biden is now gutting. After both parties in Washington destroyed the dollar's stability with inflation, now the Biden administration has chosen to wield the dollar as a weapon. Together, these two factors send a message to foreigners, which is they should get out while they still can. In response to Russia's war with the Ukraine, the U.S. froze the dollar reserves of Russia's central bank. To be clear, these were not American assets. These were dollars owned by the Russian central bank and the Russian people. The seizure was intended to cause bank runs and collapse Russia's credit system. It didn't work. Instead, it exposed the Biden administration's willingness to violate the trillions of dollars that foreigners rightfully own. The danger of this precedent is difficult to overstate," end quote. But what do you think happened next as we were jumping up and down and talking about Winston Churchill? Well, smart foreigners, and there are some, believe it or not, started to dump the U.S. dollar. Why? Because the U.S. dollar was no longer a reliable store of value. Suddenly, it was a political weapon that could be wielded at will against anyone who held it.
In other words, if you want your currency to be trusted, right, on an international scale, you want everybody to trust your currency, then you're not going to use it as a political weapon, as the Biden administration blatantly did with their sanctions in Russia. As Tucker Carlson said, this sent alerts to everyone across the continent to say, well, the United States of America is using this as a political weapon, therefore start getting your dollars out and let's start trading in other currency, because the United States of America has proven they cannot be trusted. This is what the Biden administration has done to us on an international scale, and why this point is so important. Now, we know that the Biden administration, when they issued those sanctions on Russia and the Russian oligarchs, everybody was clapping, mainly those on the left and even a lot of rhino Republicans. But now, just as I predicted and Tucker Carlson predicted, it is slapping us all in the face, and they are dumping our dollar in mass. And the other thing that you wouldn't do, by the way, if you were trying to keep your currency on the up and up, so to speak, you would not print lots and lots of it. Well, the Biden administration is already talking about printing more money for foreign governments. This isn't money that he even intends to say here. This is money that he just wants to print and print and print. And this is another cause for what we are seeing right now. And speaking of cause, here's the thing. The BRICS nations are getting out of the United States dollars. Here's just a couple articles on that. This is the Wall Street Journal. Russia turns to China's yuan in effort to ditch the dollar. We also have Business Recorder here. China and Brazil strike a deal to ditch the dollar for trade. We also have the Times of India. India and Malaysia can now trade in the Indian rupee. We also have here on investmentwatchblog.com, and so it begins. France has also bought up 65,000 tons of LNG from China in first ever yuan-dominated trade. Then we also have here the daily HODL, new global currency designated to ditch U.S. dollar coming from BRICS nations, according to report. So here we have countries all over the globe, from Malaysia to India to even Pakistan, I didn't even bring that one up, to Russia, to China, to even France, ditching the dollar in some way, shape, or form regarding trade. What exactly is this going to do to the United States dollar? Well, take a listen.
And what will happen then? Well, all those dollars will come home, and the value of our currency will plummet even further. And that will lead to poverty across the United States, and that will lead to the typical political and cultural volatility that inevitably follows economic collapse. Disaster.
Disaster. That's what it's going to cause in the United States of America. And we don't have to look very far through history to realize what can happen. Go back to the Weimar Republic, right? When they had huge amounts of money that were printed all over the place, right? And this money was hyperinflated, and they had to bring stacks of stuff just to pay for a loaf of bread. I mean, is that the kind of inflation that could hit the United States of America? Well, if we continue on this path that we're on, absolutely. If they continue to dump the dollar at the rate that they are, absolutely. And what does the Biden administration do? Instead of assuring that the United States dollar is stable, he's printing more money and calling on Congress to give him more money to send out. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know exactly where we're headed in that particular direction. Is our dollar going to be as worthless as it was during the Weimar Republic? And by the way, that led to an unfortunate Nazi Germany. And we definitely don't want something like that ever again. But it's a really scary place when you start thinking financially. Anyhow, I wanted to bring you the latest on all of that. I love all of you. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.